I'm Paul O'Donnell, Director of Coaching with DUSC. I've been here since September 1st, so it is coming up on 7 months. So I started playing soccer many years ago. I was told I started kicking a ball when I was about 3 years old, which was in Scotland. I grew up in Scotland until I was about 10 years old, and then my family moved to the United States. We settled in Kearney, New Jersey, which was a huge soccer town. Known as Soccer Town, USA. Prior to college, in high school, there wasn't really a thought of, playing at the next level or playing pro, because there was not a lot of opportunities at the time in the United States. So when I went to college, I attended Columbia University here in New York City. So it wasn't really until I was probably a junior or senior, I really thought about my career beyond college, what I would be doing in the game. My first pro contract was with the North Jersey Imperials, who were in the United Soccer Leagues in the pro division. At that time in 1995, there was no MLS, so it was a very competitive league. I think the greatest influence on me was definitely my father. He was always there for me as a kid, growing up. The amount of times we would just take the ball and go to the local park, whether it was in Scotland or even a lot in Kearney growing up, he was always there to go and knock the ball around with. And he was always involved in my youth career as one of the coaches. I don't know if he ever took on a head coaching role, but he was always an assistant coach with some of the youth teams I was on. And just his love and passion for the game. I remember when we first came to the US from Scotland, it was very difficult to get a lot of games on TV. So I can remember we had the shortwave radio and just listening to games, whether it was from England or Scotland. And then, very fortunate where I grew up in Kearney, there was a Scots club and there was an Irish club. And the great thing there was the Irish club had a huge satellite dish on the roof, and they always showed Celtic games. And really just very supportive, as I mentioned before, with the New Jersey State team, driving me up and down the state to practice 2 or 3 days a week. Just always willing to play a role in getting me to training, to games, and really allowing me to follow my dreams with soccer. In terms of coaching and my journey in soccer, it was probably going through college. When I went to Columbia University, I'd thought about law school all the way through. And I think as I was getting close to graduating, I realized how much I loved the game of soccer and how much I wanted it to be part of my life. One of the biggest challenges I had in life was, recently I had a brain tumor known as an acoustic neuroma. I was diagnosed with that. It was actually early in January 2016. I noticed a couple issues with hearing, ringing in my ear, which they didn't really know at first what it was. Did a few tests, ended up having an MRI, and they discovered the acoustic neuroma. This was the match ball from the New York Red Bulls first team from May 18th of 2016. That was actually the day of my brain surgery, and they played Chicago Fire that night. They dedicated the game ball to me, and they beat Chicago 1-0. Mike Grella scored the goal. So at the time it was very special to get that from them. It was delivered to me the next day. Since I've come in, we've implemented a new game model, DUSC, and how they have already played. It has been a club that's really stressed playing out of the back and building out of the back. So we've really been more specific with playing through the lines, the creation and use of space, and how we go about teaching that to youth players at the various ages. And as they move up, the methods we've used, the principles are all aligned and they're the same. So the transition from one age group to the next, as well as from an orange to the blue team, should be seamless.